Thank you, Councilman Zimmerman. The hour being 7 o'clock, that's my standard line. If we could have the Flaming Gorge Days Committee lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'm not sure if the brief hesitation to start is a reflection of you guys' week or month of preparing for Flaming Gorge Days. But thank you very much. And thanks for all you guys are doing. It's going to be I think it's going to be a great celebration. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I'd like to add, amend the agenda and add on council action item C, approval of the appointed employee contracts.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Now we've approved the agenda. Do we need to approve the whole thing again, Galen, or is that included in this? Seemed to me it was included the way the motion. Okay, thank you. Proclamations. I'm going to read the proclamation. Then if anybody would like to speak to it, they're welcome to step up to the podium. So this proclamation is on Flaming Gorge Days. Whereas the Flaming Gorge Days Committee is made up of 8 volunteer members, numerous other volunteers, and countless community supporters who donate time throughout the year to pull off Southwest Wyoming's Weekend of Fun. And whereas the goal of the Flaming Gorge Days Committee is to host a high-quality weekend festival to include a variety of entertainment options, and whereas Flaming Gorge Days offers entertainment and activities for participants and spectators, including street jam, 3-on-3 basketball, children's entertainment, parade horseshoes, cornhole tournament, festival in the park, the Flaming Gorge Open Golf Tournament, and live entertainment. And whereas the committee endeavors to make the event affordable to everyone and has made efforts to recruit sponsorships outside of what the city provides, and whereas the city partnership with the committee is invaluable and a quality event would not happen without the assistance of city employees and the support of the mayor and council, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Pete Rust, do hereby proclaim June 23rd through June 25th, Flaming Gorge Days 2022, and urge visitors and citizens of Green River and Sweetwater County and adjacent counties to participate in this fun-filled event. Would anybody like to address the council?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for that, Mayor. I just wanted to say, first of all, there's a little inaccuracy in that proclamation that says there are 8 members on the committee. Right here I have with me our now 4-member committee. We've whittled down a little bit more after COVID this year. We will be expanding, but if you guys would stand up for a minute, please. I would like to introduce you. We have Luis Flores. Luis here manages the beer, a very important aspect. He also does a tremendous amount of volunteer coordination, the ice, layout of the whole park, just getting the corral for the stage and security and all of those things. We all fill in and do everything. Everybody's just invaluable. So we appreciate you, Luis. Next is Kyla McGrath. She is our graphic designer. She does the logo, the website, all the posters, our badges, pretty much anything that you see that has Flaming Gorge Days on it, Kyla has designed, and we appreciate everything that she does so much. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours. These are all volunteers. There is no payment that is received. So I hope everybody enjoys the event and appreciates what everybody is doing here. Down there in the green is Dawn Corsi. She is our chairman and president and has just all the institutional knowledge. She knows all, catches all, does all. Sponsorships is her claim to fame, but she has just done so much this year in all other areas. We just couldn't do this if we didn't work together like a family. And then last but not least is Susan Mitchell. She's our grant writer. She gets all of our advertising contracts in place. She crosses every I and dots every T, or vice versa. Again, Flaming Gorge Days, you know how it goes. But anyway, we just work really well as a team. I do the entertainment vendors, whatever else needs to be done. It's a million things. This year is going to be a very big year. We hope everybody comes out to support it. We really hope the community shows up in droves. We have right now 2 vendor spots left. We're pretty well sold out. Friday night is Flashback Friday. Come out and watch a great award-winning tribute bands. We've got a Fleetwood Mac tribute band, and then we've got the Eagles Ronstadt tribute band. They're going to be great. Saturday, we've got Ned Ledoux headlining with Tim Montana opening for him. We had our Grand Marshal kind of fell through at the last minute. So Ned Ledoux kindly stepped up and will be our Grand Marshal for our parade. We're very excited about that. So I think overall it's going to be an awesome event and a wonderful weekend. And the weather is going to hold out. We're going to have a great time and it's going to be a safe weekend. We cannot thank the city enough. Fire, PD, Parks and Rec, streets, everybody does a great job. Even the clerk's office always helps us out so much with getting all of our permits and everything that we need. So we appreciate everything council does to support us, administration, everything. We just are very grateful for everything you do. So thank you very much.
Hey, before we make any comments, let's give them the standing ovation they deserve.
Wait, I think we should put our brown shirts on first.
Yeah, that wouldn't be pretty. All right, you guys come on up here. Let's get some advertising.
Scoot in there, George. There
you go, yeah.
All right, there we go.
One more.
Thank you, guys.
You big fella, we'll see you down there. Yep. Don't bring
Okay, next up is presentations. Item A, Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport update.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors. I appreciate the opportunity to come speak with you this evening. I'll do my best to be as brief as possible, allow time for any questions you might have on the presentation and the discussion regarding the air service situation, both here locally and nationally. So before you just got a brief presentation here, we'll run through. Hopefully I can get it to work.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I apologize.
Yes.
Devin Brubaker, Airport Director, Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport. It's not moving. We might be just wing it without the presentation if we need to as well. Oh, there we go. All right. So some quick facts about the industry. There's a significant shortage of commercial pilots and mechanics in the industry that's creating a tremendous amount of stress on smaller community air service. Since the beginning of the pandemic, 191 or 63% of commercial service airports in the country have lost at least 25% of their air service. Of that number, at least 50 of them have lost at least 50% of their air service. And it is directly attributed to the lack of pilots in the industry. The pilot shortage has been a long time coming, but was exacerbated by the pandemic. To give it a little bit of context, U.S. airlines this year hope to hire 13,000 pilots. The problem is domestically, we only produce between $5,000 and $7,000 and 7,000 pilots a year. That creates a pretty big void and a pretty big gap. And where that hurts is the smaller aircraft, where there's less economy, less value for the airlines to operate it. They would rather push all those assets to the larger aircraft with more seats and things like that. Let's see if this will go to the next slide. I think it's working now. So the capacity purchase agreement is the program that delivers air service to 4 communities in Wyoming. That's Riverton, Sheridan, Rock Springs, and Gillette, or here in Sweetwater County. The capacity purchase agreement was a 10-year contract that was signed in 2019 between WYDOT and between SkyWest Airlines and WYDOT. The contract had an initial 3-year term that expires here in 9 days on June 30th, 2022. And then I had an opportunity for a 3-year renewal. And then after that 3-year renewal, a 4-year renewal. So after each renewal, the parties have an opportunity to negotiate the contract. And as things have rapidly evolved over the last couple of years with the pandemic and the airline situation, it has obviously impacted the economics of air service in rural America. So as a little bit of a description, we'll skip that slide. Doesn't have too much important on it. I know you guys have a long agenda here. I want to show you this slide. Over the last several months, really since the beginning of the year, SkyWest Airlines has announced termination of service to 31 cities. A large part of those were served by Essential Air Service Program, which is a federal air service program. On this slide, all 31 of those communities are listed. When SkyWest notified that they were terminating that service, US DOT put it out to bid, and they received 28 bids. 3 communities didn't get a bid. 1 community got a bid from an airline providing 50-seat aircraft. The yellow communities received a bid for 30-seat aircraft, and all of the reds received bids for 8 or 9-seat aircraft. And if you'll notice some of those prices up there, they're pretty extravagant. I'd call your attention to Salina, Kansas, where for a 30-seat aircraft, almost $8.5 million a year just to provide service in that community. The total average for those 28 bids was $4.9 million a year, which is a significant increase for every community compared to what existed pre-pandemic. So the question is, why would we continue to pay the higher volume, the higher cost of air service? The reality is, when you look at that list of cities, there's not another airline that's going to come in and provide regional jet service in communities. SkyWest Airlines is it. That obviously impacts your leverage and negotiation. Even though we have 4 communities that negotiate together to try to get the best deal, it does create some challenges in those lengthy negotiation processes. But how it impacts our community is, this is the overall airport economic impact, $36.9 million. Of that 36.9 million, 22.3 of it is direct economic impact from air service in our community. It boils down to, for every dollar invested by the state and the local communities in air service, it's a $13.15 return on the investment, and that is without the multiplier effect. So for those of you familiar with economic impact studies, there's direct impact and then the indirect impact, which is the multiplier. That is only direct impact. We did not use the multiplier in that number. So before you today, and we'll get to this video here in a second, but before you today is a cooperative agreement between the county and the 2 cities. Earlier today, the county approved a contract with WYDOT, an amendment to their contract with WYDOT. to do the next 3 years of air service. And before you today is the cooperative agreement, an amendment to the cooperative agreement that covers the local match. The 40% of the total cost of the contract is covered by the local communities, and that's split 45% county, 33% Rock Springs, and 22% Green River. So before you today is that cooperative agreement to cover the next 3 years. I could tell you I've been working for about 7 months now on the negotiations with WYDOT. It has been the most difficult negotiation process. I've traveled to St. George a couple times. We've done a lot of virtual meetings and negotiation. We've had some of the best consultants in the country as part of the negotiations on our side of the table, helping us craft our negotiation strategy. And what we have in front of you, what was in front of the county today, is the best that we can do. And I wouldn't stand here and tell you that if that wasn't the truth. That is honestly the best that we can do if we want to have air service in our community. We are making investments in our airport. You'll see a quick video here in a second. That is a drone video of our terminal project, a nearly $21 million project that has been largely grant funded. The only local cost so far is $1.3 million. The rest of it's been 100% grant funded from the feds, almost 14 million from the FAA, hopefully soon to be about 15 million. And then the rest is state grants, and then that local match from the city of Rock Springs and Sweetwater County. We also continue to invest in our airfield infrastructure and other aspects of the airport to make sure that we're well positioned to drive this cost as low as possible. The number that you see in your agreement is a not to exceed amount. We only pay what the actual costs are. And a perfect example, in April and May, we were actually profitable. So there will be a credit of $58,000 applied to the next invoice that's due from SkyWest Airlines. So there's credits available when we are profitable. And in April and May, we were profitable. June's looking to be profitable as well. Obviously, that's with just one flight right now. But there are efforts underway to get us back to the 2 daily flights and hopefully a 3rd daily flight not too far beyond that as well. So that's where we're at. I did put this video in here. I took this last week with our drone, just showing you a quick fly around of the terminal. I'd be happy to host any one of you at the airport for a tour of the project. Feel free to reach out to me, and happy to answer any questions too about the air service. But I don't know if it's better if you maybe try clicking on it. There it goes, I think. See if it'll play. If not, we'll it's on our Facebook page. If any of you follow our Facebook page, it's up there as well.
We'll come out there and see it in person.
Yeah, come out in person. It's way better. It's a cool little view from the drone, but I'm happy to answer any questions you all have on the air service, the airport, anything you have. So.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Devin? Comments? Mike?
Yeah,
Councilman
when you're talking
Chetron, sorry.
about, increasing the flights from 2 to possibly 3. Are you talking going any different direction other than just out of Rock Springs to Denver only?
Denver would be the only option. There is really no other options that exist in today's climate. United Airlines is the only airline interested in small community air service at all. American Airlines, Delta, Alaska, they're all pulling out of small communities, and most of them are retiring their regional aircraft fleets as well. So for now, in our industry, you always focus on more frequency before you upgauge aircraft. So you want more frequency before you go to bigger aircraft, and you try to make sure that you have one city that's self-sustaining. And before you add a second city, you need to make sure you don't cannibalize your first city by adding a second city. Otherwise, you end up having a situation where neither are self-sustaining and they both cost money. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to run
Appreciate
to
all
Rock
your
Springs
efforts.
now, so I appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
If you have any police friends, police escort, don't fly, police escort. Thank you, guys.
Okay, are there any citizens in the audience that are not on the agenda that would like to address the council? And I only see two citizens that are not part of the staff, so and we'll move on. I get to. I'd like to open the public hearing for the proposed budget. Is there anybody that would like to address the council in this public hearing? I see a gentleman walking, well, a person walking forward here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We'll just get all the amenities out in the public hearing if that's okay on the budget. So the budget we've been presented before you tonight is, I'll just go over the highlights that we've made changes from the last budget meeting. We've made relatively few. One of them, Mr. Brubaker just touched on, was the air service. That was a large chunk. We have made some changes in a couple positions that you guys have been made aware of in the budgets and in meetings. We've also added some of the revenue in for the county fire department, a bit in for that. There will be a big change in the JCC Joint Combined Communications Center stuff that you guys will be approving later on in this meeting. And then overall, the rest of the changes in that we've made in the additions and changes, the one-time funding and sheets that you guys have seen. Other than that, we really haven't made any other changes from the documents you guys were provided at the last workshop. You'll notice for general fund, we'll always speak about general fund first and talk about the others if you'd like, but general fund, the document in front of you says we have a $325,000 remaining fund balance. That number should go north a little bit to about 500,000 with the changes in the JCC percentages today. And that is the number we told you we thought we would be between 500,000 and 600,000 at the last budget workshop. So in general, we haven't made any changes that you haven't been aware of other than those larger ones. And we've kind of kept you abreast in the loop into those during the time as well. So with that, do you guys have any questions on the budget in general?
Anybody have any questions for Chris? I think we have had a whole series. Is somebody going to address the 4.5 kind of a thing at some point in time? This deficit that we have of 4.5 million.
Mayor and Council, I'm trying to round that number. I'm not real sure where that came from. I've heard bantering back and forth on what it is. My best guess is that in the middle of the sheet that you guys have and one that was presented in the agenda packet and online was there's an excess or negative in deficiencies of revenues over expenditures of roughly that number. What that is there's a series of our revenues and expenditures. I guess I'll say it out loud. I shouldn't. It's a game that we play on. You've got carryovers and you've got some fund balance and you've got savings. So some years we get a little extra money. Some years we spend a little extra money, and that plays into the excess and deficiencies. One of the big things that comes into play in that for us this year is the ARPA funds. How those come through. We really didn't budget to utilize any of those things. We used a little bit of the money to balance the budget last year. We're getting 1.2 million roughly in this year as well. Here should be in next week or so. As soon as I see it hit, I'll let you guys know. Those things are all put into your fund balance and used for the next year. And a lot of the one-time funding of the monies that we used for next year is from those ARPA funds and things like that we've been able to use and utilize for those projects. So yes, revenues do look a little higher in expenditures, but most of that's due to some carryovers and fund balance, either from federal monies coming in or amounts that our department had saved each for us every year. We are looking at between a $500,000 and $700,000 carryover for this year because our departments have been withholding on spending as much as they can. We budget for the not quite worst case scenario, but we budget to make everybody to where they aren't pinching every single penny in case an emergency comes up. Along with that, sales tax money is a little higher. Won't hear me admit it too often. And like I said, the 865 number we got is, Reed and I are having this conversation today. While it's not the number I wanted to see, it is a good number. We're still looking at numbers we haven't right around 2014. We were looking at today. So it's a good number. I was just hoping for more to seeing us bring out a retention. So And that, but as far as a deficit, no, the city's sitting in the best place we've been sitting in probably the last 5 years, to be truthful, especially since about 2014.
Everybody hear that?
That doesn't mean we haven't been very frugal and tight with the next year's.
There's a reason why we're in that position. It's because you guys have done a tremendous job. That's the reason, from
What-
top to bottom.
One of the goals we're trying to get is to get the O&M expenditures down to our sales tax revenues. You look at it, we're $2 to $3 million below our averages over the last 10-year average. So we're trying to cut at the same token of bring sales tax up to make those two things meet. So we've been, we've got to be honorable to the employees and give them a little bit of something. Otherwise they're not going to stay, because as you guys know, employment is pretty good out there right now. At the same token, we've got to keep that in line. We can't give, we'd love to do what Casper did and give 9%. I believe is what Casper gave. We'd love to be able to throw that number out, but it's just not financially in our best interest to try to come back into a model. Some other key factors that are jumping right down to us are the 6-penny election is coming up. That can have a very significant change on how we do budgeting next year. Sales tax revenues, they are looking better coming up. But now you're getting to talk of a recession and things of that nature. So we've been fairly conservative on all those natures to do that. But to be truthful, this is probably the least lean budget we've put together in the last 5 years.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Again, I'll just give you guys one more chance. I think we're okay, right?
Mr. Mayor, the only other thing I wanted to touch on for the public meeting, because I have to,
Sure.
is the fee schedule. Again, we've given you guys, and the rate study has come out. We finally got those numbers, and the study will be coming out for a presentation. We did the rate study we had 10 years ago, or 7 years ago, as we got through the projection that we were doing this year, we're within 30 cents of it, 40 cents, I think it is, which is really good. But this is the year we felt we were going to start tapering on those, especially the sewer funds. We're not going to get to taper. We're adding 20 some million dollars on a loan, and we're not doubling the rate this year. So I feel super fortunate. We're only in 5 years going to look at about a 60% increase, which I was thinking we were going to be 100.25% increase from this year. So things are looking a little better in that, and those fees. As far as the other fees for everything else, some very minor clerical changes. Not clerical, but very minor changes, small fee changes, nothing to really actually change revenue streams for, but just a few things that we're trying to true up and get more in line with some of our competitors and other things.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I have just one question on the fees. And I notice here, maybe this isn't the appropriate time since it's a meeting, an open meeting. It shows right here, the water rates and fees are changing, and they've gone up a little bit, not much. A few pennies, but I know the public's going to ask me why they went up.
So when we went through the water is in the same rate study that the sewer is. We're just looking at a lot of inflationary indexes. We accounted for the Joint Powers Water Board, for instance, to do about a 3 to 4% rate increase. I think they've done a 5, an 8, and a 6 in the last 3 years. I can't remember which order those are in, but significantly over our projections. And some of the inflationary factors are just some of there that we had factored in about a 3% inflationary index on that stuff. And those numbers are coming in higher than we thought. And there's a couple new projects that, not new, but projects that we didn't have in before that we felt we need to add in to be more prudent to our citizens. And the cost of that project is just like the wastewater plant. It's significantly, some of them are doubling, to be truthful.
Has the Joint Powers Water Board increased their rates as well?
Yes, they've increased their rates every year for the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
It's over our percentage that we calculated. Yes.
So
But their rate isn't directly correlated. So when we built ours as a 3% every other year is what we had done. But they have it, their increases each year has caught up to what, past what we've been doing. Then you got to throw in the cost of the expenses or the construction projects that we've done. So it was a good timing in terms of redoing that with the consultant and redoing the enterprise fund study that we have. This gives us another 10-year outlook. And it also bases more corrected inflationary numbers. It also bases the new loans that we were able to do. I mean, had we not been able to renegotiate to 0% and 0.5% loans, this would be a whole different story. What it does is it takes us out a little bit longer to be able to cash flow the expenses that are going to be coming up to continue to build this facility. And it is, as you know, is in re-engineering right now, value engineering, and we hopefully that number, with some changes will come in lower. The last part of that is the ARPA fund rules are getting done. You probably read that in some of the notes that come into you on our weekly basis, but we're hoping to have those done, and if we will be applying as soon as it's ready. That rates that you have as a worst case scenario that we see at this point in time. So if we were able to get a 3 million, 5 million, 7.5 million, I mean, that's a max you can get, but there's only 50 million that's out there for it. But whatever we can get will help lower that rate increase that we have to do over the next, 5-6 years as we get to that. And it will top out at that point because, we're paying for that. So that's, that's where it stands. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have one other question, and you've only got 10 minutes to answer. And that is, could you explain, because I don't know if the public understands, could you explain how a enterprise fund works and don't explain about all the enterprise funds. Tell us which enterprise funds we have.
In 10 minutes? That's a
Yes.
tall order,
I know.
Councilman Kilpack. You know that with me. The simplest way is it's by state statute, an enterprise fund is to be run similar to a business. Not like a business, but the most way is the enterprise fund can't lose money, but it's not to make money either. That being said, you plan for capital expenditures and multi-year deals. So some years we make money, some years we lose money. But an enterprise fund is supposed to be legally by statute, be required to be what they consider break even, possible, self-sufficient. You're not using tax monies to support that enterprise fund. And we have 3 of them still. Solid waste, even though it's all kind of disappeared, but we have reclamation remediation on that landfill site for 30 years. So that fund has to stay intact until then. And then we have the water and sewer funds as well.
The which one?
The water and sewer funds. Water and
Thank you.
wastewater.
You got it, Councilman? Okay. Anybody else? Thanks, Chris. Okay, are you done?
I believe Carrie's got a couple things to do on the
Okay.
public hearing for the
Okay.
personnel stuff.
I'm here, but I'm not here. Mayor and council, as part of the budget process for fiscal year 23, you'll be asked to approve a resolution that establishes wages for fiscal year 23. I've provided you with a copy of that resolution, a copy of our pay bands. Those have all been adjusted by 1%, a 1% COLA. In addition to that, our employees will receive a 2% step. So an overall 3% increase. And I'll just kind of go on what Chris said. Well, we'd love to be able to give 9% for the city of Green River. We know that that's just not fiscally responsible right now. But I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about those documents.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Carrie on the whole personnel thing? Hey. All right. Thank you very much, Carrie. Okay. Is there anybody else? This is a public hearing. Anybody else want to address the council on the budget? Okay. Seeing none, I'm closing the budget hearing. Okay, moving on, resolutions. Item A, consideration of a resolution adopting the wages for all elected and appointed officials for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Shetron,
I move to approve the resolution adopting the wages for all elected and appointed officials of the city of Green River for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
okay, so we have, who seconded? Okay, so it's been moved by Councilman Shetron, seconded by Councilman Kilpack. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Item B, consideration of a resolution adopting the schedule of fees for fiscal year 2023. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Zimmerman.
I move to approve the resolution adopting the schedule of fees charged for services, products, licenses, rentals, etc. for the city of Green River, Wyoming for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Zimmerman, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Again, it's unanimous. Item C, consideration of a resolution making appropriations and adopting the budget for fiscal year 2023.
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I move to approve the resolution making appropriations and adopting the budget for the city of Green River, Wyoming for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Chetron. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item D, consideration of a resolution amending the City of Green River Employee Handbook effective July 1st, 2022.
Mayor,
Councilman Chetron.
I move to approve the amended employee handbook to be effective July 1st, 2022, pending legal approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Carrie,
Mayor and council, I just wanted to let you know that we did receive approval, legal approval from Tom Thompson of McPherson and Thompson, who does our employment law. He's kind of our guru. We received that last Friday.
Okay, good. Good to know. Everybody get that? Okay. Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Again, it's unanimous. Is this where the item was added or do we need to?
No,
Okay.
it's item C.
Under council action items. Okay. Consideration to approve the amendment to the Combined Communications Joint Powers Agreement. I'm going to should I read this or do you want to just explain it? Go ahead.
Mayor, Council, before you is the new agreement that we've been working on for quite some time. This basically amends the percentages that are being paid between the county, Rock Springs, and Green River. Our board, the board representatives that we have, as well as the ones from Rock Springs and from the county, had gotten together after direction from the entities saying that we wanted them to come up with a plan that made more sense regarding the services, regarding the costs of those services. And because there's been a lot of discussion on the trying to redo something within the contract at multiple levels. We figured we wanted to at least be able to get this part of it done first. They had made a confirmed within their board, and they had it brought to us. And each of the entities are up for approval today. The county approved theirs today. Rock Springs will be approving theirs tonight. We had our rate, for example, goes more in line with what we originally wanted to do when this agreement was first brought up. It used that the county now pays more. They're even with the Rock Springs at 37.5%, and ours reduces down to 25. So it will be a savings for us each year, but it's also a fair savings. So,
And a significant savings. Okay, good. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank Reed for working on that committee because we have been working on that for a long time. And it's been, in my opinion, unfair the way it was in the past. And And now it's more equitable. And you've done a great job and it's saving us quite a bit of money.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Tom Jarvie, for example, has been on that for a long time and he's been banging his head for years trying to get that done. I think it's a good first step. We started looking at this when we talked about the general purpose tax for EMS and police and fire services. And this actually is a step in that direction. So it's based off of radio use, based off the number of radios, based off the number of calls. So definitely more fair, but credit definitely to Tom and the group that we have that have been representing. And
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Zimmerman.
I move to approve the amendment to the Combined Communications Joint Powers Agreement pending legal approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Zimmerman, seconded by Councilman Shetron. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Again, it's unanimous. Item B, consideration to approve amendment number 1 to the Wyoming Commercial Air Service Improvement Plan Cooperative Agreement. Who's gonna just?
Mayor, Council, that this basically is what Devin came and presented earlier. I can say that I've had a number of discussions with Devin working through this. I did let him know that, he had been addressing the issue in terms of he knew there was going to be an increase. He knew there kind of the level. We've had that in the budget with the finance committee since, or pretty close to the number since day one, just knowing that it was going to be a larger number. And then was trying to put more in a layman's terms of what that dollar actually means. I think having him come in and discuss the economic impact as well as, and actually I thought it was 14 million, but he said it was closer to at least 18 million or whatever on the new expansion. But we expect that this will be the high end. It's something we have to budget for. And I was talking to Chris, we were trying to go back to see how many times that we've ever had to pay the full amount. And I think there's only been one time that's happened. For example, this one, we're going to receive a credit back already, which will actually go into the carryover, which then becomes more revenue, but that is not reported in our budget, for example. So while it is high, I think the air service is something that this area needs. Hopefully Devin does his job and markets it well, and SkyWest does theirs and get pilots, and we can see that those flights getting full all the time. So.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Reed? Okay, well,
I do have a comment.
go ahead.
Let me make it now, since it's, even though it's not been the county, just for the public's information, the county will be has a percent of 45%. City of Rock Springs has a percent of 33%. And then the city of Green River has a percent of 22%. So it's more evened out now to work with the populated cities that have the larger amounts and the county with the larger amounts. So it's a fair arrangement now than it was in the past.
And also just those three totals are 40%. So the state actually pays the 60%. And I don't think Devin mentioned it, but in February, we were going to lose the air service because we had expended the minimum revenue guarantee, but the state actually came in and funded that through their ARPA funds to keep the service going, which did not go to us. So and then now that we're getting the credit back on there, so that actually helps. But there was and the state itself putting in that amount of money is understands the need for rural community service. So
Yeah, the state has bailed us out a couple times, and other airports too, the other 3 airports that are involved in this deal. Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Shetron.
I move to approve amendment number 1 to the cooperative agreement for air service of Sweetwater County, Wyoming, the governing body hereby finding that the commitment of Sweetwater County, Wyoming to co-sponsor with the city to provide air service for the term of years specified within the agreement has been determined to constitute a significant benefit and advantage to the city and the public. In that such air services, or in as such and services are not readily or economically available to the city in the absence of an extended term contract pending legal approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Shetron, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any other questions or comments? And seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All of these things we've been discussing forever. In case anybody out there is wondering how we're moving through these things quickly, it's not quickly. We've been dealing with them for months and months and months. Okay, item C. Who's going to address that? Councilman Kilpack.
Item C, and just a little reason why I added this to the agenda is because the contracted employees that we have right now, their contracts are over June 30th, and we don't have another meeting until in July. And so without having to call us for a special meeting, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the appointed employees' contracts.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Jost. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Zimmerman, seconded by Councilman Berg. There's no discussion on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. City Administrator.
First of all, council, thank you. I appreciate all the work that council's put into it, the finance committee, as well as all the department heads, everybody that works within there. The budget continues to be a challenge, especially in these times. We are looking forward to seeing some improvements. We're starting to see a little bit, but then again, we have some inflationary aspects that we just can't keep on top of. And as Councilman Shetron says, you got to keep your nose to the grindstone and keep on going. So I think our department and our staff do that very well. So I just want to say thanks to all of them who helped put this together. I did have, as many of us did, we had meetings with the governor this last week. We actually got some really good one-on-one time, both within a chamber-driven meeting as well as an SCDC meeting, and a couple other conversations. And actually, they went pretty well. I think the Sweetwater County is being very well represented in terms of people who are working on a lot of those different programs and are working together to help push Sweetwater County and get the notice that we deserve in terms of the types of companies we have, our expansions that we have, the needs that we have. And yes, it is a political year and he's been out a lot, but he was out there listening and we had some good conversations. I wanted to share that. And then yesterday we also had an SCDC meeting. The last time that Kayla and Eric were here, when we approved the memorandum with them, they've already had we had a strategy and planning session. We got them a lot more focused in terms of what we think SCDC should be doing over the next, at least this next year in terms of business recruitment. We have a number of things, hopefully this week and within the next 2 weeks, we'll be announcing that have been very positive. And I think we're going to continue them down that road. And I know Councilman Zimmerman, you work with Eric, but he's been very good. He's been very good to work with. He's taken on a lot of responsibility and learning about economic development. So it's very appreciative if you want to share that with him too. So and that's all I have.
Thank you, Reed. Mr. City Attorney.
I have no report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Galen. Who wants to start? Councilman Zimmerman.
Shop local, buy American. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Zimmerman. Councilman Berg.
I just wanted to echo what Chris had mentioned as far as that over the last 6 years that I've been on council, these budgets and the budget hearings that we have and the workshops that we have, this was the easiest year I have had. And it's not due to complacency by any means at all. It has to do with the fact that we're actually finally getting good at all the cuts that we're having to make and where we can stretch a dollar and things like that. And so I would just want to give a shout out to city staff that this has been the least stressful as long as I've been on council for doing a budget. And as you can see from, us up here, we voted on all those things unanimously, no discussion, because we've been working on them tirelessly over the last few months. The other thing I wanted to say is it makes me really happy because, Mark and Reed and Chris can all testify that I chew their ear all the time when we do these joint things with the county and the other cities that, when we get sales tax dollar revenue, we get 21 cents on the dollar. So I'm always pushing those guys for us to get toward that 21%, and to see a 25% on here and a 22% on here, great job. Because that's where it makes it equitable for our population versus the, county as a whole and Rock Springs. It's only fair. So great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Well said, Councilman Burke. Very good. Councilman Shetron.
And to echo what Robert said, hats off to Chris and Reed and all the teams that were working on the budget this year. It really was smooth. So thanks for all you guys do for us.
Very good. Councilman Jost.
Yeah, and I'm also going to echo that. I remember years ago when I was on the city council, we'd have a budget meeting would last all night because we had about 30 motions. Everybody had their own motions, seconds, amendments. Gee, it went on and on. But we did, this is just so much better, so orderly. So just nice to appreciate just how well it goes with everybody. It's a really good deal for us, you and everybody else. So you're making 100 changes at the end of the night, trying to figure out what happened in the budget. So, but it's just appreciated. I appreciate it. Also, I attended the WAM convention last week, Monday or Wednesday, Thursday, and also and then I left town for the rest of the week. So, but it was a very good convention. We learned a lot. I tried to attend everything that had to do with economic development, and I think some of those ideas will show up here the next few months, or weeks or months. So I think it was worthwhile going to it. Yeah, and it was just nice to see everybody else working the same routes we were working, trying to do what we do and stuff. It was well worthwhile. Then on the way down here tonight, I attended that. I guess many of the council people did. The little celebration we're having up by the south end of Uena from Get and Go up there, or whatever they call it, all the way down to the dentist office, Dr. Birch's office. It was just a nice little celebration. There was a lot of people there. It's crowded, really. Lines were on every booth and everything they had going on. Lines of people waiting. It was just a nice celebration, I thought, for almost unknown when it started, I think. So they called it Welcome to Summer. So tonight's a nice night for it. So it was enjoyable there too. So, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, George. Councilman Kilpack.
Notice that you saved me 7 minutes.
Use them all. Use them all.
I'll use them all. I just want to echo what everyone else has said without having to repeat it, because I do agree, except I do want to add a couple of things, and that is, I want to thank Reed for the good work he does. And I've noticed through the years that Reed gives credit to the people who deserves to have credit. And I've also noticed with that's all the department heads do the very same thing. They give credit to the employees that deserve the credit. And I think that's a real admirable thing to do, because a lot of companies don't like to, a lot of supervisors don't like to they want the credit, not to give it back to their employees. So thank you for being that way. That makes the city of Green River a much better place. And I'm going to start a new slogan: see the good in Green River, shop local. And one other thing, Mayor.
Sure.
And that is, just for information for the public, on talking about the budget and how hard the Green River finance department, Chris and his group and Reed and those that have been on the finance department. In 2020, from the papers that you give me today, Chris, from 2019 to 2020, our revenue dropped 24.04%. And even though our revenue dropped that low, we was able, with a steady hand, to keep a balanced budget. In 2021, it only went up 3.3%. And so over those 2020 and 21, which I think that was going through COVID, if I remember the years right, our finance department and Reed and his department heads have been able to keep the community solvent. And I think, I might be wrong on this, but I think attached to our budgets had always been a 2% increase in wages, in steps, yeah. And so I just would, and it looks like as we're going forward into this next year, it looks like each month so far, revenue has been just a little bit higher than what it was last year. So we're on the uphill swing, and that's a good positive approach. So thank you for the good work you've done over the few years, especially in 2020. If you wouldn't have had a little bit of a savings account, we'd have been in trouble. So thank you for the good work you do, and I appreciate that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Kilpack. So I'm just going to repeat what everybody else is saying, and just a slightly different. You know, the point, just hearing it, what Councilman Kilpack is saying, 24%. If you have your budget, 1/4 of your budget is decreased in your home, that dramatically affects how you live. That's what we're dealing with here. The next year, 21%, major cuts. And during that time, we maintained our services in the city, and we actually increased a lot of recreational services participation. While we're losing money, we actually increased the participation for our youth and for our seniors in the various programs that the recreation department does. So, I mean, that's amazing. You know, we didn't shut down parks during that time when we lost 1/4 of our budget monies. And I think that's something to be very proud of. I do want to also echo Reed, you know, we did meet with the governor. It was a good meeting. The governor gave us, you know, potential for lots of support coming out with all the federal monies that they have. I did take the opportunity to remind him that they do have huge surpluses and they need to keep us in mind. He reminded me that that money is based, the way that it's set up is to be, the interest on that money is supposed to run the state. And I didn't remind him back that even though that might be the case, you still have $25 billion. So open your wallet. But I think he kind of got the idea a little bit. Enjoy Flaming Gorge Days. You know, it's coming up right away. So get out and enjoy that. The thing that did happen today, in addition to that, all of those people that were there was a ribbon cutting for Stellar's Coffee and for Allstate. So they've opened up in new business locations, and they're pretty excited about that. I did also attend, along with George, the Wyoming Association of Municipalities convention in Laramie, and it was the most positive meeting that all of the 91 cities in the state have had for several years. It was a completely different environment than it's been recently. People are just a little bit more optimistic right now. And so that was a good thing. And finally, I'll echo Councilman Berg, Councilman Zimmerman, Councilman Shuttrin, Councilman Jost, and Councilman Kilpack's great job by the staff from top to bottom. All the workers, everybody, you know, contributes to that. And certainly led by the department heads and by the city administrator. We're doing a great job of providing the services for the city, given the fact that 1/4 of the revenue, is gone away, or 20%, 1/5. I mean, that's amazing. So good job. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor,
Councilman Chetron.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilman Chetron, seconded by Councilman Kilpack. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned.